All right, ready to dive back into the drama in Salem. This week, it's seriously intense. Revenge, love triangles, and family feuds hotter than a stolen Rolex at a pawn shop.
It's wild how intertwined all these storylines are. It's not just individual conflicts, it's this entire web of relationships and secrets, and everybody's actions have these insane consequences.
Let's start with Philip. This letter he got supposedly exposing Sarah's infidelity has sent him completely off the rails. And Vivian, playing the supportive mother, is basically pushing him right into Xander's path.
Vivian's manipulation here, it's textbook narcissism, isn't it? She's preying on Philip's insecurities, fueling his anger to get what she wants.
And it's a pattern we've seen again and again in Salem, this toxic behavior just repeating through generations.
Right, it's like a cycle.
And Philip's talking a big game, even threatening to dump Xander, fake leg and all, in the river. But then there's Sarah. He's got feelings for her, and they're making him hesitate. This whole internal battle between revenge and his conscience.
And that sarcasm he uses almost constantly, it's like a defense mechanism,
Yeah.
trying to laugh off how serious everything is.
But deep down, you can tell he's struggling. He's dealing with some really heavy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Xander's not just sitting around. He goes straight to Kristen, and asks her to get this. Eliminate Philip.
Talk about escalating the situation, asking Kristen to commit murder. Especially with their history, it shows how desperate Xander is and how fast the tension in Salem is rising.
It feels like things are going to boil over any second.
Yeah, it's intense.
Speaking of boiling over, let's switch gears for a minute to Tate and Holly. That text exchange between them, full of unspoken anxieties, both of them waking up, thinking about each other.
It's interesting how their morning routines unfold. Tate's all happy with Sophia, and then the messages start coming in, and the whole mood changes. He's clearly affected by what Holly's saying.
And Sophia's being a good friend,
Mhm.
supportive, even though she's dealing with her own romantic stuff.
Right.
She's trying to understand what Tate's going through. It's kind of sweet.
It shows how differently people deal with relationships. Yeah. Even within the same friend group. Sophia's open, communicative. Tate's holding back.
Probably because of the secrets between him and Holly.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's move over to Chanel and Johnny. That awkward run-in they had with Joy.
Yeah.
Turns out she and Johnny have a past.
Remember that flashback with
Yeah.
the ring? So much drama.
Juicy.
Yeah.
And Kate's perspective on all this is really interesting. She's all about second chances and wants Chanel to forgive Johnny. She even links Johnny's jealousy to powerful men like Stefano and Philip. It's like she's saying that jealousy can lead to some bad choices,
Yeah.
but it doesn't define someone. She wants Chanel to see the good in Johnny, even with all his baggage. What do you think about that? Is she being naive or insightful?
It's a tough question.
Right.
And it leads to this bigger question about forgiveness. Can Chanel truly move on from what Johnny did? Will his past always be there, hanging over them? It's a really hard choice, and Kate's advice might not make it easier, even if she means well.
So we've got Philip on a dark path, Xander making some questionable alliances, Tate and Holly tiptoeing around their feelings, and Chanel trying to decide if she can forgive Johnny. And guess what? Things are about to get even more intense.
Uh-oh.
Because now, the conflict between Xander and Philip, it's spilling over onto everyone else. Xander confronts Kate and flat out accuses her of being behind Philip's plan.
Wow.
And Kate, being Kate, denies everything. But you can see the tension building between the Kyriakis and DiMera families. This feud's about to erupt.
Like a volcano.
Right. We leave off with Xander pouring his heart out to Victor's portrait, weighing his options. He's furious with Philip, feels betrayed by Kristen. He might just snap.
He's at a breaking point.
And at that very moment, guess who walks in? Philip. Talk about a cliffhanger.
Ooh, this is going to be good.
What's Xander going to do? Will he confront Philip? Will things get physical?
Well, we'll have to wait for the next part of our deep dive to find out what happens next.
It's Salem, so I'm betting on a little of both. But we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
Until then, stay tuned.
Can't wait. So we left off with Xander and Philip about to go head-to-head at the Kyriakis mansion. Remember, Xander's feeling betrayed, ready to explode.
And he doesn't hold back. He basically calls Philip a puppet, saying he doesn't have the brains or guts to pull this off on his own. He's convinced someone's manipulating Philip. He even thinks it's Kate.
It's interesting how Kate reacts, She denies everything, tries to play it cool.
Oh, of course.
But you can tell she's rattled. Xander's hit a nerve.
It's like she's trying to keep things under control, but she's slipping up.
Yeah, she's definitely losing it a little.
And this whole confrontation just adds fuel to the Kyriakis-DiMera fire. This feud goes way back.
Oh, yeah, generations.
It feels like a war is about to break out.
Absolutely.
Speaking of adding fuel to the fire, over at the Salem Inn, Kate decides to pay her son a visit. Barges right into Philip's room, and guess who's there? Vivian.
Oh boy.
Remember, Vivian's been whispering in Philip's ear, encouraging his worst impulses. The timing of Kate's arrival is suspicious, don't you think?
It's like she senses something's up.
She knows Vivian, knows she's a manipulator. She's probably worried about Philip.
Makes sense.
You've got these two strong women, both wanting to control the situation, both with their own agendas, and Philip's stuck in the middle.
Poor Philip.
Talk about a powder keg. Before that explodes, let's check in on Chanel and Johnny. Chanel's thinking about forgiving Johnny, but she's still hesitant.
Rightfully so.
What he did really hurt her, and it's not easy to just forget about that.
That's a big deal.
And now Jordan's back in the picture, bringing up all those painful memories.
Oh yeah, her presence definitely complicates things.
She clearly still has feelings for Johnny. This could turn into a whole new love triangle.
Easily.
And Johnny's sending mixed signals. He's begging Chanel for forgiveness, promising to change, but then he's sneaking around with Joy, keeping secrets.
That's not good.
Is he really sorry or just playing games? Hard to tell what his true intentions are.
Chanel's got every right to be cautious.
Forgiveness is a long road, especially when trust has been broken like that.
Absolutely. Speaking of trust issues, let's go back to Tate and Holly. They're finally meeting face to face. Tate seems ready to confess something big.
Yeah, he's carrying that huge secret about his involvement in the accident, the one that almost killed Holly's mom.
That's a lot to keep hidden.
How can they build a real relationship with that hanging over them? Tate's probably drowning in guilt.
Yeah, he wants to be honest with Holly, but he's also terrified of losing her.
It's tough.
And Holly has no idea what he's about to say. This could change everything for her.
Like a ticking time bomb.
Right. Meanwhile, Xander's still reeling from his confrontation with Philip. He goes back to the mansion and starts talking to Victor's portrait, looking for guidance.
It's like he's trying to connect with his father-in-law, looking for answers.
Makes sense.
You really see Xander's inner conflict here. He wants revenge, but he's also loyal to the Kyriakis family. Doesn't want to dishonor Victor's memory, but he can't just let Philip walk away.
It's the classic dilemma. Personal feelings versus family obligations. And for Xander, those two things are pulling him in opposite directions.
Big decision with huge consequences. Not just for him, but for everyone around him.
Absolutely. And just when he's at his most vulnerable, guess who walks in? Philip?
Oh boy. You could practically feel the sparks fly.
Showdown time.
It's definitely about to go down. We're back, and the tension in Salem is thicker than ever. Remember, we left off with Xander and Philip about to go at it at the Kyriakis mansion. It was about to get real.
And remember all that emotional baggage they're both carrying into this? Xander's got that betrayal and that sense of being wronged, and Philip's dealing with guilt and manipulation and that infamous temper of his.
So tell me, did it explode into a full-on brawl? What happened?
Well, not quite a brawl, but it definitely got heated. Xander accused Philip of being the mastermind behind the whole scheme to frame Brady, but Philip, with Vivian in his ear, denied everything and threw the blame right back at Xander.
Classic Salem move. Never admit to anything. But I bet they were both holding back, just barely keeping it together.
Oh, absolutely. It was like a pressure cooker. And remember, this isn't just about them. It's about their families, their businesses. This feud affects everyone.
Speaking of messy situations, let's check in on Tate and Holly. He's finally ready to confess his part in the accident. Do you think their relationship can survive the truth?
Well, the confession doesn't exactly go as planned. He tries to explain why he kept it a secret, but Holly's devastated and angry. Understandably so.
It's tough, You can see how much he regrets what happened. But the damage is done. It's hard to rebuild trust after something like that.
It really shows the impact secrets can have, doesn't it? They can eat away at relationships, even when you're trying to protect someone. Sometimes the truth, even though it hurts, is the only way to move on.
No, let's not forget about Chanel and Johnny. She's decided to give him another chance, but with conditions, probation. Can they make it work?
Forgiveness is one thing, but trust, that's a whole other challenge. And with Joy still lurking around, tempted to expose Johnny's secret, things could get even more complicated.
Talk about walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
One wrong move, and this whole reconciliation could fall apart.
It shows that relationships take work, They need effort, communication, and a willingness to learn from the past. Whether Chanel and Johnny can make it through this, who knows?
So where does this leave us? Philip and Xander are at a standstill. Tate and Holly are facing an uncertain future. And Chanel and Johnny are taking a big leap of faith. What a week in Salem.
Yeah, Yeah, it doesn't seem like there are any easy answers for these characters. They're all dealing with the consequences of their choices, caught in this web of secrets and betrayals and everything.
That's Salem drama for you. Always keeps you on the edge of your seat.
But, beyond all the twists and turns, it makes you think about things. Forgiveness, the weight of secrets, the power of family, it's all there.
I'm left wondering what happens next. Can these characters find any kind of peace after all this? Or are they stuck in this cycle of drama?
That's the big question, and only time will tell. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the craziness that is Salem.
Until next time, stay tuned.